Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this one, if you could just hit that subscribe button down below, that would really help me out. But today's video is the tactics video for Daniel Farke. Now, I've finally bitten the bullet after nothing happening really for a week or so. Daniel Farke is so odds on to become the Leeds manager that I thought I would create this. If he does become the Leeds manager, you will see this moments after the announcement. If not, it'll be released anyway, before he's announced maybe. And welcome the fans of whatever club he goes to next, because I've experienced that before a couple of times on my other videos. I've got Bournemouth fans commenting on my Iraola video. Granted, there was only about 4 of them, but then that is the entire Bournemouth fan base. But jokes aside, let's get into it, because Daniel Farke's system is a 4-2-3-1. At the moment, it's so up in the air about who the players will be that are in that system. But I hope that Cody Drama is at the right back, because he will be really, really good in this system. Now, the 4-2-3-1 is pretty commonplace now in English football, but we do need to fill some of these key positions. Like I say, the fullbacks in this system are going to be very, very important. The 2 holding midfielders, I think maybe a little bit of experience in here with another JB or somebody like that could work really well, or another recruitment as well, but I think we need at least a few more midfielders. You get a number 10 in just behind the striker who's going to help out in those attacking situations and defensively as well with the press. And then you've got your 2, what you would call wide men, who aren't really, they're also attacking midfielders who you're going to learn in a little bit, like to tuck in a little bit more narrow. And now don't panic, because I've said narrow. The fullbacks will provide this width, and we'll get into that. So let's get straight into the attacking side of things, because that's what everybody wants to hear first. Now, Daniel Farke has been quoted saying that he absolutely loves his teams to have the ball. I'm paraphrasing here. And if he could keep the ball for 100% of matches, he would. For 90 minutes, he would keep the ball, which is very Bielsa-esque in the way of thinking about football, is that you want nothing more than to have the ball at your feet of the team that you're commanding. So the way that things will work is when Leeds get into the attacking third, you'll see that this striker here, whether that be Emmanuel Dennis, maybe, but for Norwich it was Teemu Pukki. He was what's called a blindside striker, and he would try to obviously get in the blind side, get in the blind spot of these defenders and make runs, which would then make room for somebody like the attacking midfielder here, which could have been Emi Buendia or one of those other attacking midfielders that Norwich possessed at the time, to make a run through the middle. But for now, let's put him in the centre. You have these 2 where I'm saying that they're tucking in narrow, but the reason they are tucking in narrow is because your fullbacks, who at the time for Norwich was Max Aarons and Jamal Lewis as well, who's now at Newcastle. I think he's still at Newcastle. They would basically push on into those positions, and you'd basically get a situation like this where you have your holding midfielders in here with the ball, and basically from the back, they would try to play out through the defenders using triangles, get the ball into that midfield, and then try to get the ball into the attackers, maybe out to the wide men who can give 1-2s and try to get those players into the box for attacking opportunities. Now, there was a chance and a goal that they scored against Chelsea, which was a really good example of this when they were actually up in the Premier League. I think Cantwell came in with the ball, passed it out wide, it came back into Pukki, back out wide, and then came right across the box, and Cantwell had made a run right in and scored. So it really gives players an opportunity to interact with each other, to exchange. What I think is important in this system, and what Daniel Farke does well, is he complements his striker with enough attackers. Some teams you see where they'll play one up top and they're also a defensive team, and they don't really get enough support up there for the attacker. What I like about this system is, although you're not playing 2 strikers, you're actually giving your attacker a lot of support by having those teammates make runs for them, overlap, underlap. You might not necessarily see that both fullbacks will be this high at the same time. So you could see that if it's Drama is all the way up here and he's got the ball and he's going to try and put it into the box, you might have your other fullback here, and what he would do is tuck in and make a little bit of a 3 when we're on the counter-attack, but I'll go into that a bit more detail, when we actually go on to the defensive side of things. So yeah, it relies on passing out from the back, which we like, if we've got capable players to do it, which I feel like we have with Cresswell and Verba. And it also relies on those passing triangles, relationships between players, people coming in and dropping short for it to receive that ball, and always having options. The other thing that these defenders can do, and maybe would be expected to do as a team who plays out from the back, is be able to carry the ball out. Now, we saw that under Bielsa with players like Ben White and Liam Cooper occasionally as well. He would actually carry the ball way into the midfield to try and bypass a press. So if you've got Leeds trying to launch a counter-attack here, or just an attack of any sort, and you've got, there we go, fullback has gone up there a little bit. Like so. So you'd have this this ball coming into the centre-back here, and you might have these players pressing his options, and he's got actually nowhere to go. And so what he can do is actually just break out into the midfield, drive up the pitch, and then obviously those players will make runs off him, and then you'll get that attacking situation where everybody else will try to go forward then, and create opportunities for passes. And I think that's really good about this system, that it's really fluid. It's not that much of a differentiation from a very basic 4-2-3-1, but it's just the things that you like to see that we haven't seen over the last year or so under Marsh and Gracia and stuff, is those relationships where somebody's always willing to show for the ball. They're always calm and composed. They always take a touch, find a pass. That is what we need in this system. And I think Daniel Farke, if he gets in before the bloody pre-season starts, he can do really well at this, because it's creating those relationships. And what I mean by that is, previously, we've not had players who know what they're doing when a certain situation happens. So Daniel Farke will say, okay, well, let's set up like this on the training pitch as a back four, and we've got the ball with our goalkeeper. He will have expectations of what he wants his players to do every time that there's a goal kick. So let's say, for example, the goalkeeper's got the ball and he wants to attack. He's going to maybe send Aaron's a little bit high and wide up to the halfway line, maybe make a 3 here, and then he's going to pass out and hope that somebody from here, when this man receives the ball, the holding midfielder, either one, whichever side it's on that's closer, could drop into this space and receive that ball, maybe to the other centre-back, then out to the other holding midfielder. The idea is that in any situation that we go into, the players will know where to be and where to run to, and that is something that we've severely missed. Under Bielsa, players knew exactly what to do. Jack Harrison, I remember him saying that if he got the ball in a certain crossing position, he knew where to put it into the box. If it was a bit higher up, he might put it to the back post. If it was a bit further back, he might put it to the near post, for example. But he would know exactly what to do in the situation, because it's been coached into him and ingrained into him that that's what he needs to do when the ball comes into this area. And that is what I think is going to set us apart from what we've been doing over the last year or so. There's not going to be as much panic, because players aren't having to improvise every time they get the ball. It's like a set rotation, a set passing system where they know exactly where to be when the ball is received by a certain player. So the holding midfielder gets it here. Then you might see, okay, well, if we stay like this, he's not really got much option but to go back. So then you get the fullback dropping back in a little bit after he's made his run, and then he can receive it. Then you have a player here making a run for him into here, and then if he's got no options and going that way, a player comes across. The idea is that you always have an opportunity to get the ball to your teammate. And like I said, it comes back to this, you're having one up front. Having one up front is very popular nowadays, but you have to support them in the right way. You cannot just leave them isolated up there. We've seen that all too many times with Bamford over the last season or so, with Rodrigo scored a few goals, but he's not, for the most part, had that much support. It's just that when the ball's dropped to him, he's managed to put it in the back of the net because he's a good finisher. So those are the important things we need to remember when we're attacking, that although, yes, on the face of it, our attacking midfielders might tuck in a little bit narrow, that's only because you've got a fullback overlapping who can get the ball and put the ball into the box. So we've got more men in the box, which is always going to be a good thing for creating opportunities, trying to put the ball across that corridor of uncertainty where those players can get in at the front post or the back post and put the ball in the back of the net. At the end of the day, that's what football's about, putting the ball in the back of the net. And also, it's about entertainment as well. And I think what's good about this is that we will play nice football. I want to see Leeds United play nice football again, and I really think that we will under Daniel Farke, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to keep the ball, and he wants to play possession football, play out from the back, try and create as many opportunities as possible. So let's go on to what Leeds will do without the ball now then. We've gone to the wrong formation there. It's actually 4-2-3-1, a bit more like that. Yeah, so let's say that this team have the ball here and they're going to play out from the back. Depending on the opposition and depending on the situation, will decide what sort of press we employ. Now, Daniel Farke has been known to employ gegenpress, a really high block, high press, so all the players are up in the attacking third, in the faces of the opposition, because they know that they're actually a better team than them, and they can possibly force them into making a mistake in these early stages of trying to play out from the back. So the goalkeeper plays it out, and then we're on them instantly, and we're trying to create that opportunity to win the ball back and go and try and score a goal. That will only happen some of the time, though. That will be a situation in which we win the ball back is not all of the time. So let's say that the press is bypassed here and this red player manages to get the ball into his midfielder. Because one of the fullbacks has pushed a little bit high, it's more likely that when we're being counter-attacked, we'll actually be in a 3 at the back. And so one of the fullbacks will tuck in, create a 3, and it gives us a bit more cover. Now, this is literally what I suggested when I talked about Marsh's tactics. I talked about how we were constantly getting counter-attacked and we would only have 2 defenders back. And for me, the best thing to do in that situation was to have another fullback tuck in and create a 3 through the middle of the pitch rather than 2 and 1 out wide, uneven. And basically that's what will happen if we do get counter-attacked and that press is bypassed. So going back to the other types of pressing then, so the other one that we will employ is a mid-block. If you've been on the channel for a while, you'll know that I have explained what the mid-block is before, but it's fairly simple, so we'll just go through it quickly because this is something that he will employ. So the mid-block then is the players will not go flying out. They'll basically drop into a bit of a 4-4-2 actually, and they won't go flying out trying to win the ball the moment it gets into the defence. What they'll do is they'll bide the time a little bit, and the only time when they will try and go and win that ball is when A, it comes into the midfield and they sense that there's a chance to press and win that ball, or B, somebody makes a loose pass and they know that that's not quite going to get there, and he can come in and nip the ball. If he doesn't do a backflip, he can come in and nip the ball away and then go to goal. And the other one, option C, is if they turn round. This one's an important one. If they come into the midfield and they realise that there's not really any way through that block and they start to pass backwards, that's when the whole team can advance up the pitch and then go into a little bit more of a high block. So you see how that transition happens when they go back towards their own goal. The ball's going backwards, everybody else tries to gain those yards so that they're higher up the pitch and they can try and win the ball again. And the final one is a low block, which is what you'll have experienced Leeds play against a lot of times with teams like Wolves, Burnley, other teams basically that have tried to sit back and time waste against us. But the reason that Daniel Farke would employ this is usually if it's a team that's probably quite a bit better than us, which there won't really be in the Championship, I wouldn't have thought. But yes, the low block will mean sitting in quite tight, quite narrow, and trying to avoid leaving gaps anywhere for them to play through us, really. You kind of leave one man up front and the rest of them are in there trying to block those gaps and stop all of those players being able to play through us, basically. You're tight, you're compact, you're trying to see out a game, or you're trying to do something where you're able to spring a counter-attack from it. they will sit in a nice tight low block, trying to stop those gaps between them, trying to stop the ball coming into the front men. And when they can, they're allowed to then try and break out from that. It is zonal. It won't be too much man-to-man marking. I think from set pieces as well, he's zonal. So there won't be too much of that as an issue, because I know that gives people heart attacks around Ellen Road weekly. But yeah, so that is kind of the basics of his system. It's not a massively complicated system, really. It's a simple 4-2-3-1, but his philosophies are the main thing, that he wants to really try and keep that ball. He wants to get the ball forward. He wants Leeds, or if he does become the manager, he wants Leeds to be a promising attacking side. He probably brings through some youth, like Cody Drama, I would imagine, would fit this system really, really well. We need a left back that can get forward and can defend as well, so we'll be looking out for that. Maybe somebody like Manning, from Swansea, but yeah, overall that is how Daniel Farke would like his Leeds United team to play. So I know a lot of people have requested this video, so if you want to hit that like button, that would really help me out, and get your comments down below about sign-ins and stuff, because once Farke is in place and the EFL approval of the takeover is done, there will be plenty more videos coming, because we need to sign some players and we'll be selling some as well. So thanks for watching this one, and I shall see you next time on Leeds Lately.